this evening? Oh, pardon me, Quinn? Do that again? So I jumped the gun there. I got excited. I'm still new at this job. But I'm going to call the meeting to order again and welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. Being the 28th of February, tomorrow, March 1st, the days are getting longer. Just spent a few days down south and really noticed a difference in the sun coming up earlier in the morning and staying up later in the day, and I think that's a great thing for all of us. So we're going to move right along. I got a motion by Councillor Gunson and seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson that the council receives the closed session report regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land and the security of the property of a municipality as presented, and further that the council approves the confidential recommendations to staff. So this evening, we have Ed Potnowitz is on Zoom in, and I'm going to ask personally for his declaration on each motion. So I'm going to ask right now for this approval of this motion. All in favor?
I'm in favor.
Thank you, Ed. So minutes of the previous meeting, closed session minutes, and regular council meeting minutes, moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Elliott, that the minutes of the town of Minto, January 31st, 2023, closed session meeting, and the February 7th, 2023 regular council meeting be approved. All in favor of that motion?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. That's carried. So resolutions moving council into committee of an adjustment, moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, second by Councillor Gunson, that the town of Minto convenes into committee of adjustment. All in favor of that motion?
I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. So this evening, our first public meeting has to do with MV 2023-03, the Brubaker property at 5364 Highway 9. And I'm going to call the public meeting to order and state that any decision reached by this committee today cannot be used to set a precedent. Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits, and no two applications are exactly the same. The public meeting here is to consider a minor variance application, MV 2023-03, from Jonathan Brubaker. I'm going to ask our clerk to state the name of the property and a few other things here.
Thank you. The property is subject to the proposed minor variance application as legally described as Minto Concession C, Part Lot 63, Registered Plan 61R20295, Part 1, and is municipally known as 5364 Highway 9 in the town of Minto. The subject property is approximately 2.8 acres or 0.84 hectares. The purpose and effect of this minor variance application is to provide relief from Section 6.1.2C and Section 6.1.4B to permit for the addition on the existing accessory structure. Section 6.1.2C requires minimum rear and interior lot line setbacks of 3 meters or 9.8 feet for accessory structures, whereas 1.8 meters or 6 feet is proposed. Section 6.1.4B permits for a maximum ground floor of all accessory structures on this property of 2,450 square feet, whereas 4,880 square feet is proposed. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies, and posted on the subject property on February 8th, 2023. Reports have been received from Town of Minto staff, Wellington County planners, as well as Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. We have no one registered to speak at this meeting.
Okay, so we have the first thing of business is making sure that everybody is signed in to do with this delegation. I'm going to ask our Town of Minto Planning Coordinator, Ashley Sawyer, to provide some comments.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair Turton. So the property is located just outside of Clifford on Highway 9, and as Annalene mentioned, it's slightly over 2 acres in size. Currently, the property has a single detached dwelling on it, as well as 2 accessory structures, one of which is a 200 square foot portable shed, but that's still calculated in your accessory structure ground floor area. The owner is proposing to construct a 3,400 square foot addition onto their existing larger shed for additional storage and workshop space, and they require this additional space to park some vehicles and trailers that are shown if you look at the picture on the report there. The property is currently zoned as a reduced agricultural lot, which for a property this size permits for a maximum ground floor area for all accessory structures of 2,450 square feet. And as noted with this addition, it would bring it up to 4,880 square feet. Additionally, due to the location of the existing shed that's going to be added onto, this expansion requires a reduced rear/interior side yard setback. Wellington County and Saugeen Valley have both noted no concerns with the proposal. However, a permit is required from Saugeen Valley prior to building permit issuance just because the property is located in a screening area. The owner is aware of this and they have been in contact with Saugeen Valley, and town staff are satisfied that this proposal meets the 4 tests of a minor variance. It's in addition to an existing accessory structure on an agricultural lot, and we are recommending that the committee consider approving the application.
Thank you, Ashley. Next, I'm going to call the owner applicant to provide some comments. Mr. Jonathan Brubaker, the owner. Jonathan, if you don't mind stepping to the mic, state your name.
Good evening. My name is John Brubaker.
And I'm wondering if there's anything you want to add to what has just been said?
No, I think they covered it quite well. We're tight on storage where we are is the bottom line. We have every wall lined, so we need to figure something out because we're still going to be spreading outside, so a bit of extra space would be nice.
All right. Thank you. If you don't mind just standing there by the mic, we're going to open this up for questioning. Is there any persons wishing to speak to the application? Please come forward. Then we'll open it up for other questions from our council. Councillor Dirksen, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Turton. I'm curious about, it says you're not running it, you have a business, but you don't run it from that location. Is that correct?
That's right. We're a construction company, so it's used primarily for storage, and yeah, it's not that we have a storefront there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Anderson,
I have the same question.
same question. Others? Ed?
I know I have no comments or questions.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move along. I'll ask,
Yes. Through you, Chair Turton, I'd like to provide a resolution for the committee to consider. Upon the resolution being carried or defeated, the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment is to be signed by all members. I'm going to present to you for the approval at this point for your consideration. If the decision would be to approve the application by Jonathan Brubaker for property legally described as Minto Concession C, Part Lot 63, Registered Plan 61R20295, Part 1, municipally known as 5364 Highway 9 in the town of Minto, to provide relief from Section 6.1.2C, permit for a minimum rear and interior lot line setback of 1.8 meters or 6 feet for the proposed accessory structure addition, and Section 6.1.4B for a maximum ground floor area of all accessory structures on the property of 4,880 square feet. I would need a mover and a seconder and for that.
I'll ask for a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Dirksen, Councillor Gunson. Any other questions in reference to this? We're going to call the question. All in favor of this motion? Gotcha. Ed?
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. That's carried unanimously. So I'm going to state anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment in respect to the minor variance application must make a written request to the clerk of the town of Minto, 5941 Highway 89, Hairston, NOG 1ZO, or by email at annaline@town.minto.on.ca. And I'm going to adjourn this public meeting. So thank you very much, Jonathan, and
Thank you very much.
good luck.
Appreciate it.
You're excused unless you want to stay and hold that chair down. So I've got a motion by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment convene into Committee of the Whole. All in favor of that motion?
I'm in favor.
That's carried. Thank you very much. So we're going to move along to our next public meeting. This has to do with the ZBA 2023-01, Cleon Behringer, 9814 Wellington Road 6. I'm going to act as the chair of this public meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask Clerk McRobbie. So we've already talked about that everybody signed in. And as chair of this public meeting, if a person or a public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, the persons or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the town of Minto to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Clerk McRobbie.
Thank you very much. The property subject to the proposed amendment is located at Concession A, Lot 13, with a municipal address of 9314 Wellington Road 6. The subject property is approximately 49.79 hectares, or 123.03 acres in size. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to rezone a portion of subject lands to permit a rural school and address minimum distance separation 1, MDS 1 setbacks. The subject property is currently zoned agriculture. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on February 6, 2023, and posted on the subject property on February 7, 2023. We have received reports from Wellington County planners, Town of Minto staff, as well as Maitland Valley Conservation Authority.
Thank you, Annalee. So I'm gonna call our county planner, Matthew Daoud, to provide comments regarding the proposed amendment to the comprehensive zoning bylaw number 01-86. Matthew, welcome.
Perfect. Thank you. And through you, Chair. Before you today is a zoning bylaw amendment seeking to rezone a portion of the subject lands from agricultural to agricultural site-specific zone. The applicant is seeking the aforementioned amendment to facilitate the construction of a new rural school on the subject lands. Planning staff note the subject lands are designated as prime agricultural in the county official plan. Section 6.49 of the plan permits community services facilities, and this includes schools for local communities which rely on horse-drawn vehicles as their sole means of transportation. Lastly, planning staff note the proposed school does meet MDS requirements to neighboring barns, but however, in an effort to ensure neighboring livestock operations aren't impacted by the school, staff have added a provision in the site-specific zoning which would permit neighboring farm operations to grow without any MDS concerns. So on that note, a bylaw has been prepared for council's consideration, which addresses MDS and limits the use to only a rural school. And with that, planning staff are satisfied with the application and are supportive of the rezoning. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Matthew. So I'm going to call our Town of Minto Planning Coordinator, Ashley Sawyer.
Perfect, thank you. I think Matt's covered it very well. Just for a little bit of clarification, we're looking for the relief for MDS 1 and MDS 2. This is something that was included at the request of the applicant, and as mentioned, to not hinder existing and future farming operations around. Maitland Valley has noted no concerns with the application, and town staff are also in support of it. And we did receive one informal phone call in support, but we did not receive any formal submissions.
Thank you, Ashley. So I'm going to call the owner applicant, Mr. Cleon Behringer. If you have something to say, Cleon, please move over to the mic and state your name.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Cleon Berger, and I think it was very well covered. Thanks a lot. I don't have any objections or any more questions.
Okay, thank you. If you don't mind staying by the mic, if there's questions, I'm asking if there's anybody else that wishes to speak. Then I will open it up to council. Anyone has, right now we have opportunity to ask questions to Cleon. Questions, Ed?
Just a comment. I'm assuming there'll be a site plan application coming forward on this. And I'm sure the town staff will look after, things such as lot grading and access, like entrances, those types of things.
Thank you, Terry.
So I can speak to that, maybe. So yeah, site plan application will be forthcoming on that. The entrance, being that that's County Road 6, will be at the jurisdiction of the County Roads Department. So they'll you obtain that permit before the installation of the entrance.
Other questions? Any response, Cleon? You're clear?
Oh, I'm clear, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Then I'm going to state that, and thank you, you can, I think we're finished with that. You can sit down if you want. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the council of the town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89 Hairston, NOG 1ZO, or by email at Annaleen@the town.minto.on.ca. And if there's no further questions, I'm going to adjourn this public meeting. So thank you very much. And again, you fellas, if you're interested in staying, that's fine. But you can leave at your leisure. We're going to move along into delegations. And tonight we have Mr. Bob Harris from 94 King Street South property. And Bob, if you don't mind stepping to the mic, making comments, state your name, but welcome. Yep, love it for you to speak.
So I'm asking for part law control on King Street 92 and 94. It was built just over a year ago with the, what should we say? Maitland Valley approved the site plan, and as long as I met the elevation they recommended, they were in favor of it. So at this point in time, due to the economic times and things have changed, we're just asking to split it. And in between times, in late November, a young couple moved here from Alberta, and they both got jobs at TG Minto. So they called me about renting a place. They couldn't find a place to live, so we rented one half to them, and I'm ashamed to say that they were paying $2,400 a month. Since that time, they came to us and they'd like to buy it, and they went to the bank, and the bank will give them money for $600,000, but not for $1 million. So that's why we want to split it now. Originally, it was to be left as one property, but the surveys are, the services have all been done, so everything's split. The only thing that isn't split is the sewage line, and it runs down between the two properties. And they tell me that could be a problem. But on the other hand, the house we tore down was over 100 years old, and the same sewer and the same water line was still going to it. So the Public Works Department supervised the hookup, so I'm not concerned that there'll be a problem. So other than that, that's my story. Any questions?
Well, we'll start with, we'll ask Terry to make a few comments too, if you don't mind, Terry.
Absolutely. So as Bob mentioned, we did meet with Maitland Valley out on site. And due to the structure being located in the hazardous zone, as per their policies, Maitland didn't have concerns with building a structure on it. However, there is a difference when planning applications are applied for. They don't review it just in terms of elevation of structures, which they do with the development permit for, or that they issue before we can issue a building permit. But they also take into consideration provincial policy statements. which doesn't permit the creation of a new lot in a hazardous zone. So as Bob mentioned, he is interested in doing the part lot control application. However, before he can do that, he would need to apply to rezone the property, as it's zoned right now for single-family detached with an accessory apartment. So he would have to rezone it to permit the use of a semi-detached building. And Maitland Valley will be commenting on, they are a commenting agent on rezoning applications, which they've indicated they wouldn't be in support of it. So Bob is basically looking for, council's support on the rezoning component.
Okay, so we'll open, is there any questions or are we just gonna, any questions? For Bob or Terry? Deputy Mayor Anderson.
So Terry, if the Saugeen Valley wouldn't support it, they wouldn't support it because they don't want to create another living space in a flood zone or floodplain.
Not another living space. It's,
There's already two spaces.
yes, yeah, it basically, in one ownership or two, the look, the feel of the property doesn't change, but they have to have regards to, or sorry, their comments need to conform with the provincial policy statement, which is why they can't support the rezoning application. It's the, it's the provincial policy statement that doesn't permit the creation of a new lot in a hazardous area.
Other questions? Ed?
Yes, through you, Mayor. I just had some concerns about the water and sewer lines that are servicing the property. My understanding, there's one set of services, which is perfectly acceptable for one property. But once you split them, my understanding is that you have to have a separate set of services to the additional unit. The concern would be that if you use one set of services, then they may possibly be on the abutting neighbor's property, and if there was any maintenance issues or anything down the road, there may be some issues in regards to making modifications or fixing the system there. I've dealt with this in the past in my previous work experience, and anytime we came across this, there was always a second set of services that would have been required.
So in a normal situation, if it was constructed as a semi-detached, you're absolutely right. There would be individual services running to each unit. But because Maitland Valley wouldn't support a rezoning application, the way that the building was constructed and even mentioned to Bob or told to Bob prior to the demolition of the single-family dwelling that the only thing permitted would be a principal unit with an ADU. So going by Maitland Valley's position, they wouldn't support the rezoning, so it didn't need to be constructed as a semi in terms of services. But you're absolutely right. It definitely would cause headaches down the road in terms of maintenance. You know, who plugged up the sanitary sewer, now who's paying for it? Yeah, those items are always headaches down the road.
Terry, and we're talking services, we're talking like there'd be 4: hydro, gas, water, and sewage.
That is correct. I don't know the status of the private services,
Okay.
whether there's individuals or not. I don't know that.
Bob, do you know the answer to that, Bob?
What was the question?
Question is, when we're talking services, we got hydro, gas, water.
Yeah, everything's separate except the sewer line, which
Except for the
is
sewer
on the,
line.
in the center on the property line, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Dirksen, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I was wondering, can council support a rezoning, or what would happen like what would happen if we did, I guess is what I'm wondering.
So staff's position on it would not be in support of a rezoning application, being it's contravening the provincial policy statement. Council does have the ultimate decision in terms of whether to approve it or refuse it. If it's approved, it would be against the provincial policy statement, and if any other commenting bodies appeals it, it won't stand up in the Ontario Land Tribunal because the decision was made contravening the PPS.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Elliott?
That was exactly my question. Thanks.
Okay.
Stole your thunder.
Other questions? No questions, Ed? You've,
No further questions from me. No,
okay,
thank you.
thank you very much. So, gonna, we'll,
I think what it boils down to is forget the paperwork and use some common sense. Like the building's there and there's going to be two different people living in each half. So what's changing? I don't know. I guess I'm old fashioned. To me, there isn't one thing going to change. We've done the same thing up the street 1,000 feet and it was in the floodplain and everything's happy. Everybody carried on. So other than the sewer line, I don't see a problem. And I think, you know, if the town, the council here has any inkling of they're representing their own municipality, I don't think they should worry about what Maitland Valley says. If Maitland Valley had their way, they'd shut down Hairston because it's half floodplain, half of Ontario is. So I think it boils down to common sense, but I'll leave that up to you. Thank you.
okay. Thank you very much, Bob. Appreciate you coming. And I'm going to pass the chair to Councillor Dirksen to assume the chair for, we've got a couple of guests here from Intact Entities, and we want to talk about our insurance policy. So go ahead, Cal.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Turton. We have a couple of gentlemen with us tonight to talk about our insurance. This is something that we do every year. And so, yes, I will ask you to go over to the podium with the microphone. And maybe you could introduce yourself.
Colin, would you mind just moving a little, or turn that mic up?
Microphone closer to you. Yeah,
Yep.
Jeremy left it on. Oh, okay. There we go.
thank you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so it wasn't on. And so going back to that, the first inspection that we had done actually identified that's overall the values reported to us when we began insuring the town were actually overstated slightly. So we adjusted those appropriately. And then also we've offered over a dozen risk management seminars to staff in attendance, most of those being webinars, given the restrictions. But I think staff has been very receptive to looking at your exposures and managing your risk, which has been very good. So with that being said, I'll just touch a bit on the insurance market and pricing. So as you can see in Mr. Duff's table here, pricing began to start increasing as a result of the market conditions that we saw kind of take effect starting in late 2019. Those market conditions were brought on by a number of factors, and so we entered into, in the insurance industry, what is called a hard market. I'm sure a term that you've probably heard for the last few years, maybe sick of hearing it. What that means is that insurers are a little bit more stringent. Their capacity or willingness to insure specialized risks such as municipalities was reduced. And also claims were a driving factor in that correction of insurance rates. So we saw rates increase over a number of years. The hard market is still somewhat prevalent, but it is starting to start to level off for 2023. But what we have seen take shape is inflation that's the highest it's been in decades. So looking at the 2023 renewal costs, a good portion of that is with respect to inflation overall. So that is inflation on goods and services, and then also replacement costs for your assets. So we have to ensure those to value. If something were to happen to your assets, they cost more to replace today, and that factors into your insurance rating. And so with that being said, your overall increase from 2022 to 2023 is about 13% year over year. Yeah, so that's kind of my quick summary, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to discuss.
Okay. Thank you, Colin. Are there any questions? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. Physical assets. As you know, we sometimes will buy a building or build a building, or we'll add a vehicle that you weren't expecting in this insurance policy. Does that increase when we report that to you, does that increase the value of our?
Yes. Yeah, to you, Chair. Yes, it does. And usually that is a prorated if it's not added. If it's added, say, throughout the policy term or like halfway through, the cost of that would be prorated for the remainder of that policy term, for instance, and then it would be factored into the next renewal as well.
So you anticipate that with every program, insurance program that you put together, you anticipate that we'll add something to our insurance? We normally do that?
Yes. Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, it's fairly common. So you either, especially in vehicles, so adding and deleting assets such as vehicles or properties throughout a policy term is common. Yes.
Mayor
Thank you,
Turton.
Chair Dirksen. I know, Colin, I'm sure that it's not an easy speech for you to deliver to municipalities. 13% seems to me like it's a lot. I understand inflation, but I mean, is that pretty general across the board for all municipalities? I think our record in Minto is pretty good with accidents and slips and trips and stuff. Is that fairly consistent?
Yes, I would say it's even on the mid to lower end with respect to other municipalities, in part due to your claims experience. That's definitely taken into consideration. So those that do have a greater claims experience will see increased rates, especially during hard market times when the insurers are scrutinizing those risks that are maybe underperforming. So I would not put you in that category. At 13%, it's average, if not below some of the average that we have seen for municipalities of the same size and scope.
So right now we're in the process of doing budgeting, and I mean, inflation is kind of an ugly word this year. So thank you.
Okay, are there any more questions? Okay, I sort of have one jumping off of Councillor Elliott's question. So if we get a new half-ton and nobody thinks to call the insurance company to tell them that we've added a half-ton, like, is there a blanket insurance on everything?
Yes.
Make sure that those are insured the day that we get them.
Yeah, so for instance, the automobile policy is on a blanket basis. Obviously, the intent is to have those reported to us as soon as practicable. Understanding that, day-to-day operations may get, in the way and sometimes things are forgotten about. So that is why we have the benefit of the blanket policy there. Would we prefer they were reported on the day that they were acquired or you took possession? Sure, but that doesn't always happen, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Super, thank you.
Chair, one other question. I'm
Yes.
Disappointed in Councillor Elliott because this is always his question. Volunteers in Minto are huge. And they're, looking at their policy, it's excellent coverage for volunteers. So that's a big part of this as well.
Okay. All right, so I'll read the recommendation. It's moved by Councillor Gunston and seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson that the Council of the Town of Minto receives report Finance 2023-005 regarding the 2023 insurance program renewal and approves the renewal. All in favor? Thank you. And Ed?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And I will pass the chair back to Mayor Turton. Thank you very much for coming, gentlemen.
Yes. So on behalf of the council, we'd like to thank you guys. I know it's not an easy task for you guys. Jeremy, it's a pleasure doing business with you and Colin. Thank you for coming, answering our questions. Thank you. So we're into public question period. And that is basically anybody, we put that in our agenda every council meeting, a burning question off the floor that we can score. Do you have a question? No? Sorry. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, you guys. So we're going to move in. We're going to move into correspondence. I'm sure everybody's read the information. And we have a recommendation from Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Gunson. The council receives the correspondence as information unless there's anything that anybody wants to pull out and look at. Councillor Dirksen, go ahead.
Trying to get through this one really, really long one here to find the one that I really, really want. Anyways, it's the OFA one on the acres of land that is lost every day to that one, right there, 319 acres.
Yeah.
So at our last regular council meeting, which I believe was earlier this month, there was a letter from the Wellington Federation of Agriculture regarding, in part, the loss of farmland to housing and development. And I know you were all thinking that I should say something, but I've already told you that before, so I didn't want to belabor it. But then the very next day, I got a magazine in the mail, and it had this information in it on these 2 pages. And I thought it was so good because it explained, it kind of had it in pictures how much that amount of acres is and what the production is that is lost. And so it's not just the 314 acres, it's the actual, how many turkeys that could be produced on it, and how many is that cattle? No, carrots. And sorry, I can't see it. And I can't find it here, but it's coming. But anyways, so it just, to me, that just said so much more than a letter. And so that's why I asked to have this include the 319 acres of farmland that we lose. Yearly production is there. So that's why I had asked to include that.
Thank you, Councillor Dirksen. I agree. I mean, it certainly points pretty potent picture. Well, that pictures are worth 1,000 words, but that's excellent. So, Councillor Elliott.
I agree too, and I think that's why generally housing is being in and up instead of
Absolutely.
out. And I think a lot of people that have already had their house are afraid of that building that's going up, but it's a lot better for the whole community. If you can deal with our small community, let's say a 5-story would be huge. In the city, huge, and they always seem to complain about it, but they should see something like this. And that'd be important to know because they gotta have housing, but you can't go out.
Yeah. And that's why the provincial policy statements and so on encourage the density in the urban areas, right? So anyways,
great.
that's why I wanted to bring this just to show you the word pictures.
Intensification is the word of the day. So
That's
just two other ones that I would like to just discuss for a second, if you don't mind. The one from the town of Essex, letter of support for the Ontario School Board elections. I've heard it here in our town of Minto of, in respect to our last election, the amount of time and effort that our staff put in for the Board of Education. And that's kind of what the town of Essex is asking for in reference to have our government or our school board show a little bit of monetary or take it away on us, let somebody else do it. I think, thank you for bringing that out, Quinn. So the correspondence stated, if you don't humor me here for a second regarding the school board either, and they're asking us to support them. So the second one is the Township of Ashbourne, Colborne, Wawanas, the resolution for the accuracy of the permanent list of electors. I'm not sure if we'll ever get there. I know they're working hard on that, but just thought I'd point the two of those out. It's a concern in our community. And again, I'm not sure if we want to pull these and support them, but I do know that I don't know what we're talking in value on the one from Essex, Ontario School Board elections. But if you guys don't mind, what do we need to pull that? Go ahead.
I agree entirely. I was going to bring that up if you hadn't.
Okay.
This past election for us would have been totally acclaimed except for that election point and our county councillor. But there should be some cost because the cost is, I don't know what the actual figures are, but the time and work that you put into it, I don't know how it breaks down into dollars.
Through you, Mayor
ahead.
Turton. The cost is exactly the same as if we had run a full election for our council members. There is no difference in cost. It is still exactly the same information that's going out to our voters. It's the voters list. It's providing all the information. It's exactly the same cost. It is borne by the municipality, though, to run the election for the school boards and the county. And again, you don't usually notice it when you're running a full election anyways, because you're always already having to do it. But because of all the acclamations that certainly hit home, I know with me, that we were running it at a cost to ourselves only.
Well, and I believe many other communities were in the same, some communities had lots and lots of people.
Acclamations as well.
Well, yes, or some people had a lot of people running, but a lot of them were, the whole council was acclaimed.
Yes.
Or the vast majority of it. So it seems to me the school board could bear part of the cost.
Deputy Mayor Anderson, are you in support of this? Do you want to have it pulled and?
Yes, I would, thank you.
Seconder for that? Thank you. Who, do we have a second, please?
I could.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. So, other than the one from the town of Essex, how are we going to change that motion? We'll receive.
I'm just going to pull it up. If you give me just 1 second.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you very much for coming, gentlemen. Good luck.
Night.
So did you wish that a letter of support be sent to the Honorable Stephen? Oh, that's the wrong one, is it? No, let me just look here.
See.
From Essex.
Mhm.
That the correspondence be received and the letter of support be sent to the Honorable Steve Lecce, Minister of Education, and to our local MPP. I'm not going to send it out to all other municipalities. I don't know. I think that we have received quite a few of them that are supporting this. So I think that the motion could read that the town of Minto receive the correspondence from municipality, the corporation, the town of Essex regarding school board elections, and that letter of support be sent to the Honorable Minister of Education and our local MP.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all in favor of the passing of the correspondence as information, except for the town of Essex? All in favor? Ed?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. So we are now supporting the letter to be sent to the town of Essex. We have a mover and a seconder. All in favor of that?
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. I mean, all we can be told is no. Or nothing. Okay. So reports, we have no committee minutes for approvals for approval tonight. So we'll move into staff reports. And I'm going to ask Ashley Sawyer to present on the PLN 2023-010 B150 22, the Heinmiller 65 Lawrence Street, Palmerston.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Turton.
Thank you.
So this report is regarding severing the residentially designated and zoned portion of the Heinmiller property at 65 Lawrence Street North from the retained land that is designated and zoned as future development. Approximately 26 acres are proposed to be severed and 58 are to be retained. And a portion of the property is also proposed to be conveyed to the town so that the retained parcel can maintain legal frontage on an open public road, which is Mary Street. Council may recall the property coming before them regarding a draft plan of subdivision with a mix of housing types. The original subdivision plan dates back well over 100 years, but the most recent approval is 2016, with the front portion of the property being divided into 40 lots. In 2022, Braymark Homes purchased these 40 lots and will be developing this as a phase 1. They are currently in the process of acquiring the severed lands, already designated and zoned residentially, for a phase 2 and phase 3 of the subdivision. This proposal is simply to sever that residentially developable land, from the future development lands. Town staff note that to ensure that the retained parcel maintains legal frontage on an open public road, should the severed portion not be developed. Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on with this mic. A piece of land is required to be conveyed to the town as a condition. We've also included a condition that should the existing driveway that connects to Lawrence Street be compromised, it's at the owner's sole expense to install a driveway that connects them over to Mary Street. This will be achieved through an agreement that will register on title and will be legally binding. And we are recommending that council recommends to the county's land division committee to approve this application with the conditions outlined in the report included. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Yeah, questions for Ashley and Ed? Questions?
No questions from me, no.
I have one.
Go ahead,
Surprisingly,
Councillor
I
Elliott.
Never ask any questions. What I'm asking about is if this gets approved, and move forward with this, when do they expect?
So I did reach out to Cuesta Planning, who's the planner for the owner. And that was exactly the question I was wondering, just for our timing and infrastructure purposes on Main Street. And I haven't heard back yet, so I don't know exactly what their timing is. She is anticipating phase 1 starting fall of this year or spring of next.
So the sewer and water will come off and come back to.
So ironically, through phase 1, there is the sanitary main that runs to the industrial park. So it's already there. They will have to bring a water connection up Ontario Street to service both this phase as well as additional ones. Yep. Actually is right down the middle of the proposed, is it named? Zulu or Clark maybe?
Clark? Yep, could be
Yep.
Clark. It is named.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? It's basically the next step in moving this project forward. So if there's no further questions, this is the recommendation. It's moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Elliott. Council Town of Minto recommends the County of Wellington Land Division Committee approve the consent application B150-22, Barry Heinmiller, for the land legally described as concession 1, part lot 23, with the municipal address of 65 Lawrence Street North, Palmerston, in the town of Minto, that the following conditions be considered. And there is 6 conditions. I'm not going to read them, but there's no questions on this. I am going to call the question. All in favor of this motion?
I'm in favor.
Thank you, Ed. That's carried unanimously. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is Terry's going to present. It's an Economic Development 2023-005 Agreement of Purchase and Sale by Well Initiatives Limited, Palmerston Industrial Land. CBO Kuipers.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't speak as well as Belinda does, so you'll just have to put up with me instead. So this property is located at the second last lot on the left or on the west side of the Palmerston Industrial Park. The town just finished repurchasing this property from Golden Canadian Homes. They were unable to meet our building covenants, so we took it back. Literally the next day, Belinda was in contact with Well Initiatives Limited and started the whole process about them purchasing the property. So they have submitted an offer to purchase through Belinda and Annalene, I believe. So Well Initiatives Limited is a subsidiary of RJ Burnside. This subsidiary company provides both well installation as well as well maintenance services to both the private as well as the public sectors. They have worked on various projects with the town for over 20 years now, so we're definitely familiar with them. With their nature of their business, storing well casings and equipment and stuff like that outside, they were requesting a lower than what our building covenants requires in terms of lot coverage. So they are proposing 12% opposed to our normal 15%. So this would equate to a building of approximately 18,000 square feet. It is larger than what their current demand needs, but this will allow for a 6,000 square foot rental unit. So essentially, we're bringing two businesses into the park opposed to just one. So they are offering our full asking price of 60,000 per acre, equating to about 216,000, give or take. And if there's any questions, I can field those.
Any questions for our CBO? Ed?
No questions for me, no.
Okay. All right, thank you. So the recommendation by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of the Town of Minto receives report EC ECDEV 2023-05. That's 2023-005 regarding the agreement of purchase and sale, Well Initiatives Limited, Part 2, 345 Minto Road, Palmerston Industrial Park, and authorizes the mayor and the clerk to sign the agreement of purchase and sale. All in favor of that motion?
I'm in favor.
That's carried. Thank you very much. I'm going to pass the chair to our Public Works Chair, Councillor Gunson.
So tonight we've got Todd Rogers to two different reports. The first one is bulk water taking annual summary 22.
Thank you, Councillor Gunson. Yeah, so one of the requirements of our bulk water policy is once a year come and report on what we took the previous year. So our policy states that we're allowed to take up to 0.725% of the previous year's consumption over all of Minto. So last year we were well below that amount. We used 0.12%, and that equated to 895 cubic meters. And we collected a revenue from that water of $5,608. In the report, you can see the companies that utilize the bulk water and the volumes that each of them used. And it also includes a table showing the total consumption for the town of Minto. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Todd. I'll read the recommendation, moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The Council of the Town of Minto receives report PW 2023-007 regarding bulk water taking annual summary 2022 for information. Are there any questions for Todd? Ed, do you have any questions? Hearing none. pass. I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor? Any against?
I'm in favor.
Thanks, Ed. That is passed. Second report is well exploration. Go ahead, Todd.
All right, thank you. So this is another information report just to bring council up to speed on where we're at. So February of last year, we presented our servicing strategy, and that identified that Harrison and Palmerston were both due to exceed firm capacity between the years of 2031 and 2036. So we immediately started work on finding a new source so that we could provide capacity and redundancy and allow for future growth. So the steps we've taken so far, RJ Burnsides and Associates completed a desktop well exploration for both communities. So this involved them looking at local geology, collecting information about existing local wells and private wells. We also did a lot of testing of wells around the communities, looking at what they could supply for volume and quality, just so that we could pin down areas where we may be able to get water in the future. So other things that the assessment considered was source water protection areas, water quality, quantity, and proximity to our existing wells and town-owned infrastructure. So multiple sites were identified at both Harrison and Palmerston, but 2 locations were identified as most promising. Mainly, the 2 main reasons is they're close to existing infrastructure and they are on town-owned property. So the 2 sites that we've identified as being prime sites are in Harrison at the end of Lawrence Avenue. The town owns a lot just down past where the school walking path is. And then in Palmerston on the arena grounds. So the next steps with the well exploration would be to start the EA work and do drill test wells at each of those sites and do some testing to see what's available there for quantity and quality of water. So if there's any questions about where we're at or what we've done, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Todd. I'll read the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Mayor Turton. The Council of the Town of Minto receives report PW 2023 regarding well exploration ongoing in Harrison and Palmerston for information. Questions?
Well, what we're looking at preliminary, and everything's very preliminary, but we're thinking possibly out towards Yonge Street, with the idea the closer you are to existing infrastructure, the less money you have to spend to get the money to that location. Yeah.
Do we know when the test wells will start?
Right now, we're looking for quotes on the drilling, but sooner than later. Like, we'll probably see it in the next couple of months.
Seeing none, I'll ask for all in favor. Against? Ed, are you in favor?
Yes, I'm in favor.
That is passed. I'm now going to pass the chair to Councillor Dirksen.
Thank you, Councillor Benson. And I'm going to ask Treasurer Duff to present this report, and my apologies because I totally missed that highlighted note on the last one that you were supposed to present that report.
That's fine. They covered, I think they worked from my report, so.
They did a good job of covering your report.
They did, yeah, so
Yes, so my apologies.
nothing to add. Yeah, they highlighted the property increase, which is what I was gonna say. That's great. Anyway, this is one of our statutory reports. I guess the unique thing is this is covering the last term of the previous council. So it's always a year, but as you know, the province changed the date of the municipal election. So this is covering 50 weeks. The other thing is this is based on the system we've had in place since 2014, which is basically flat salary plus per diems for meetings such as this. And then we're moving to a newer system, bumping the base a bit, but remove the per diem. So I think it'll come out roughly the same, but no employment benefits or anything either. So again, well within budget. It was a bit more of a normal year, still a lot of virtual meetings, but there were some in-person conventions and seminars and that. So a little bit more typical, but certainly not as much as it used to be a couple of years ago. So anyway, I'll take any questions, but
Hearing and seeing no questions, I will read the recommendation. It's moved by Councillor Gunson and seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson that the Council of the Town of Minto receives report finance 2023-004 regarding 2022 council remuneration for information. All in favor?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. That carries. And I'll pass the chair back to the
thank you.
mayor.
Thank you, Chair Dirksen. The next, going to welcome our interim CAO, Chris Harrow, to the mic, and we want to talk about CAO 2023-002, Harrison Arena Park. And at the same time, I'd like to welcome our president of the local Kinsman Club, Mr. Curtis McDonald, to the meeting as well. And I know that he's been looking forward to this for a month.
Well, I hope so. That's why I jumped on this report and took it off of everyone else's hands, because it's a good news story. So I'm glad that Kurt's here tonight to represent the Kinsman Club, and that's why I'm here at the podium in case he wants to come up and say anything. But just a quick background, and this is just for an information that we want to bring every council up to speed on where we're going with this. But the Kinsmen came forward and are interested in doing a project in the Harrison Arena Park grounds, and they're looking at a multi-purpose pad or different things in there. And what we kind of did as staff is we kind of stepped back and said, well, let's just step back just for a quick second. And maybe what the best thing we can do is design an overall sketch or plan for the entire arena grounds, stretching from the agricultural sheds, in the back corner, all the way around to the old trailer park. So to the river. And then it could even include the conservation area, across the river and the pool area, but do a sketch for that entire grounds of what a concept would look like as a park. Taking into thoughts, things we've learned from Lions Park in Palmerston, and making this grounds into one desirable place that anybody in Harrison, wants to go to. We could include trails, we could include who knows what that would be acceptable in that park. But we just feel as staff, it would be a huge drawing area for the town of Harrison and for people in Harrison to be able to come and enjoy a really, well laid out park. So the Kinsmen, and I won't speak, then I'll let Kurt speak, but the Kinsmen were very, very well receptive. I went to a meeting and we spoke about it, and they thought that was a great idea, and they're all on board. They're really keen to get going. I have also spoken to the Ag Society, and the Ag Society is interested in also helping out with the draw and the sketch of the grounds. So we're presently getting prices from an architect we've used before on the project, which is included in the 2023 budget, that we're going to work with the Kinsman Club, with the Ag Society and town staff to come up with a sketch and a drawing that we can release to the public, get comments on, and then show council, kind of get a final draft of the park plan approved. And then that would be our roadmap for the next however many years to start working on projects and picking off different things in that park and really revamping those grounds to be extremely usable and a great park that would be desirable for everybody to come to. So that's where we're at, but I'm happy if Kurt wants to say anything or anything from the Kinsman's perspective, but we're just extremely happy to be partnering with them and getting this project rolling. So.
Thanks, Chris. He illustrated exactly what our intentions are. We want to build a pad, but he just said, build it with a plan moving forward, a plan that we can also use to help sell it and use to generate money. We'd also like that if we do build something, that it be named after the Kinsman Club. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you, Kurt. I'm wondering, Chris, any questions, or go ahead, Councillor Elliott?
I think it's great. Nothing better in the park. Certainly need that. Are we gonna contract it out? Sign would happen. Share expense. Town take care of it.
The design itself, or are you talking about like the projects within the park? Well, the projects within the park will be all partnerships. Like the Kinsmen are more than keen to take on a project by themselves and progress with a project, but it would all fall under the procurement of the town. You know, we'd have to go through our procurement and all that stuff, but it's the same, like we have a partnership with the Palmerston Lions Club, it'd be with the Kinsmen that they would take projects on, and if, as Kurt said in the meeting, they have tons of labor that they want to donate and lots of people that are looking to do stuff that won't cost anything. So it's just gathering everyone together and getting everybody pointing in the right direction is what we're doing right now to all be on the same page in developing that park. So
Once you start, you'll be amazed at the volunteers.
Other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Dirksen.
I guess just a comment, along with volunteers who may come out as well. I think there'd be, some fundraising opportunities too to help out some of the projects.
we did talk about that at their meeting. And again, I'm not Kurt can speak to that, but they all agreed that having a pictures, like a beautiful picture of what the park could look like, will help with their fundraising efforts for whatever they want to do. Because if you can put that on a board and say, this is what we're fundraising to do, that would probably help them a lot. And that's what they talked about at their meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
No other questions, Ed?
No, I have no questions.
Okay. Well, on behalf of the council, thank you very much for coming forward, Kurt. Chris, your work with this project, we're looking forward to this park and going through as a partnership. I mean, we, again, look to our volunteers in all four of our centers to do a lot of this work for us, and it's pretty amazing how we do have so many volunteers. And thank you, Kurt, for coming, and take back to your club that certainly willing, and I'm sure Chris as CIO Arrow is giving you those same sentiments, and so thank you very much. So the recommendation moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of Town of Minto receives the report CAO 2023-002 regarding the Harrison Arena Park as information. All in favor of that?
I'm in favor.
That's carried. Thank you very much. So we're moving into announcements. Is there any announcements? Where do we want to start? Councillor Dirksen? Councillor Anderson? So I have a couple. I had a call today from Mayor Davidson in Mapleton. There's a few of us going to the Good Roads Conference, and he wondered if we wanted to set up a delegation with the Ministry of Health in reference to the Minto Mapleton Health Team, explaining to them some of our issues, attracting doctors, and some of our issues with our stretched healthcare workers. And I wondered what council thought of that, and I don't know for sure whether it's too late. It's only a month or so away, but I know that our ministers are always accepting the opportunity to talk to rural Ontario. So if that is a preference of our council, there is, like I said, some of us going to Good Roads, and we'll see if we can set up a delegation and work with Mark and Chris and Annalene, and possibly talk with Manny. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'm not going, but it's a good idea.
Okay. So, is it okay if we leave that with Chris and Mark, and you guys run it by Manny, and, okay? You know the process. Second thing is the Minto, Hairston, Palmerston, Clifford Masonic Breakfast is Saturday morning at 7 a.m. at the Hairston United Church, 7 to 10. And I would strongly invite anyone that's interested in getting out and having a lovely breakfast with. You're all invited. So resolution moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the committee of the whole convenes into regular council. Sorry? Oh. You better have something.
We'll revert back into that.
Go ahead. Sorry, I
We're gonna
apologize.
continue with food.
Yeah, pardon me, Councillor Gunson.
March 3rd at the Harrison Legion, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Harrison Rising is hosting a chili cook-off. So it's admission by donation, and it's Minto businesses are making chili, and there's going to be a winner. So 6:30 to 8 at the Harrison Legion. Thanks.
Humbly apologize. So Councillor Elliott.
I have none. Hard to believe.
Okay?
Counselor Gunson's sound chili?
Yes.
Who's cooking?
I am representing, Pam and I are representing you.
Oh, excellent.
Good idea.
I thought we were gonna skip
Be turkey
Oh,
chili,
Pam's up.
leftover turkey.
Yeah, somebody had to do it.
That's good.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're excited. I know that, because of COVID, there wasn't one, I don't think, last year, but 2 years ago, there was a lot of people, so come and support your, local chili people. So, resolution moved by
May-
Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the committee of the whole convenes into regular council. All in favor for the second time.
I'm in favor.
Thank you. That's carried. Notices of motion. Any notices of motion? All right, so hearing none. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Elliott, that the Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in Committee of the Whole. All in favor of that motion?
I'm in favor.
Thank you, Ed. That's carried. So moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that bylaws 2023-014 through 2023-016 be approved a first, second, and third time, passed in open council and sealed with the corporation. I can tell you what they are. The 2023-014 are to rename Ann Street. 2023-015 is the sale of the land to Wealth Initiatives. And 2023-016 rezone 9314 Wellington Road 6 to Behringer property. All in favor of that motion?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. That's carried. Confirmatory, moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that bylaw 2023-017 to confirm actions of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Minto respecting a meeting held February 28th, 2023, be read a first, second, third time and passed in open council, sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that motion?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And it's adjourned. This is adjournment. Moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor?
I'm in favor.
That's carried. And I apologize, Councillor Anderson, for not introducing you tonight. You're the only person in the room that wasn't introduced. So, thank you very much. It was a very productive meeting.